1 month ago, tens of thousands of Trump supporters met for a rally in Washington. The mission: protest the election results and convince Congress to investigate allegations of fraud rather than confirm the Electoral College. The riot that ensued has been a tremendous gift for the left. Democrats and the media are getting some serious mileage out of January 6th. MSNBC, which famously called a Black Lives Matter protest mostly peaceful as a massive fire burned behind their reporter, is obsessed with January 6th. The same at CNN. Jake Tapper ignored months of rioting and looting in various American cities only to become utterly obsessed with what happened on Capitol Hill. He still tweets about it constantly. The libs are loving this storyline, and they're not going to give it up. They're only going to escalate it further. That's what's happening now. Last night, Joy Reid had Congresswoman Maxine Waters on to discuss Trump's upcoming impeachment trial. Listen to this.
He absolutely should be charged with premeditated murder because of the lives that were lost with this invasion, with this insurrection.
Premeditated murder. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Luckily, nobody takes Maxine Waters seriously. She's basically just a cartoon at this point. She's done absolutely nothing for her district in the 30 years she's been in Congress. She's the epitome of everything that's wrong with Congress, a career politician only out for herself and full of hot air. Just to show you, this is Maxine Waters' definition of premeditated murder.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
That's premeditated murder, by the way. Here is an example of perfectly suitable political speech.
You see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd, and you push back on them, and you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
You can see it's all kind of a joke, right? I mean, it's actually kind of funny. Another hilarious story developing this week: AOC's desperate cries for attention over what happened on January 6th, as we find out that she was actually nowhere near the mayhem. Most of AOC's followers are kids, so it's very easy for her to lie. But this one is a real beauty. AOC likes to talk to her followers on Instagram. She does it all the time. She needs a lot of attention. This week, she recounted her experience on January 6th.
I thought I was going to die. If this is the plan for me, then people will be able to take it from here. I felt that things were going to be okay. And that, you know, I had fulfilled my purpose.
Before we get to her actual location that day, one of the most interesting parts of that story she told are when she talks about the Capitol Hill police officer who came in to make sure that she was okay. She somehow manages to criticize the cops' actions and show her clear disdain for law enforcement. Listen to this.
It's a Capitol police officer. There was no partner, was not yelling, you know, Capitol Police, etc., etc. But then it didn't feel right. Because he was looking at me with a tremendous amount of anger and hostility.
This is the cop that came to make sure she was okay. That's who she's talking about. Now, AOC may have been shaken up by all this. Who knows? She may also be hyping it up for dramatic effect, because this is one of the greatest political manipulations we have seen in years. Democrats are using January 6th to try and cancel half the country right now, and the one candidate they're most worried about in 2024, that being Donald Trump. So how dire was the situation really for AOC? Well, many responded to her story with a simple map of the area. Most people don't understand D.C. too well, but a lot of people work in Congress, and most of it isn't headquartered inside the iconic Capitol building that you recognize. This map from the New York Post makes it pretty easy. You can see the Capitol is right up here. Rioters breaching the building here, and then you can see way down here, AOC is here, the bottom. Between them is about 0.3 miles. That's about 6 New York City blocks. That's a 7-minute walk. The hashtag Alexandria Ocasio-Smollett started trending after that, likening AOC to Jussie Smollett, the liberal actor who famously invented the story that he was assaulted by 2 MAGA supporters in Chicago. Those 2 MAGA supporters ended up being the Osundario brothers. his personal trainers. To this day, it's one of the most hilarious stories I've ever heard. For 2 days, AOC was one of the top trending Twitter topics for all the wrong reasons. And because of that, she was furious. She instructed her supporters to report anything and anybody tweeting negative information about her, even if it was true. Yes, it's time for the suppression of free speech. That is a liberal favorite. Being a Democrat, AOC naturally thinks Zuckerberg and Dorsey work for her, and they kind of do. It's no longer trending. She's no longer trending. You might have to wonder why. We don't really know. Anyways, dramatics do seem to be AOC's forte. Just last week, Ted Cruz made the big mistake of retweeting her call for an investigation into the Robinhood app. Cruz said he agreed with AOC. It was a nice little moment. She responded by destroying the potential bipartisan moment by alleging that Ted Cruz had recently tried to have her murdered. That's how stupid this has all become. And the media is mostly responsible for letting Democrats take something like alleging election fraud and turning it into premeditated murder, which over the last few weeks they've been slowly doing. You're watching it happen. It's an unbelievable thing to watch. You remember the mayhem from the left against Justice Brett Kavanaugh. You remember everything that he went through, how crazy this country was during that time. Here was Senator Chuck Schumer, the leader of Democrats in the Senate, on the steps of the Supreme Court before the High Court took up its first abortion case under President Trump.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
I mean, that is some dangerous speech. Compare that to Trump's peacefully and patriotically protest speech. Put them side by side. You can see what an absolute joke this has all become. And you can also see what's going to happen in this trial. It's going to get laughed at. Democrats, though, see a lane here. That's all. That's what this is all about. They see a great political lane, and you got to hand it to them. They manufacture outrage like nobody else.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.